Well, thanks for joining me today. I'm Ste Ashton, leading our new entity, nexGworx, that was launched just last week, and I'm also the Digital Infrastructure Connectivity Manager at Worcestershire County Council. Today I'm going to give you a little bit of a story around Worcestershire 5G and the emergence of nexGworx, and add some context around our 5G manufacturing-based case studies. For those that you were with us on day one, this will be pitched a level below that Mark Stansfield talked to yesterday. So hopefully you don't find it's a repeat of that if you listened in then. First off, I'm going to tell you about our 5G journey. And I must also start by saying, if you've spotted the hamster wheel there, no animals were harmed during Worcestershire 5G testbed. It just felt as though we were on that hamster's wheel for the vast majority of the first set of trials we did with DCMS. I guess we started to look at what 5G could do in Industry 4.0 and advanced manufacturing in 2016. We worked with Yamazaki Bosch, Yamazaki, Mazak and Worcestershire Bosch in Worcestershire here, and started to look at some use cases. DCMS's funding came out, which we secured, and then we've had a 2-year program up until the summer of 2020, working with them, looking at productivity improvements that 5G could bring. And other technologies, we found 4G private networks were also very strong, but the 5G private network we built could handle a little bit more. We built the first 5G network in the UK in a factory. We were also successful in securing money from DCMS for our other project, which is a rural healthcare project, which was a priority for us as the county council with that hat on. Following the Worcestershire 5G project, we launched Testbed as a service in autumn 2020, alongside BT as our technology partner. We've had some really strong successes, counting West Midlands 5G as one of our customers. We're in the process of building, or have just built the first 5G in an SME at AE Aerospace in Birmingham. And we're also finishing off the building of a testbed in the Manufacturing Technology Centre in Coventry. Again, the aim there is to build a demonstration. I'll tell you about those case studies in a little while. Which brings us right up to today, well, last week anyway, when we launched nexGworx out in the wider community. And again, that is testbed as a service, working with partners, businesses, so they can recognise the benefits of 5G in Industry 4.0, manufacturing, advanced manufacturing, and a whole host of other sectors. Just as I say, so far our experience has really been around manufacturing and health and social care solutions. The obligatory ecosystem slide here in terms of what Worcestershire, who Worcestershire's been working with directly and indirectly. I won't talk you through it too much, but we've got a series of use case partners that we've worked with, different technology solutions in the middle, and people that support that either with our on-site core, but also looking at remote core and virtualized core solutions too. And again, just working with the UK 5G ecosystem, DCMS, and wider partners such as Kinetic, and again, the 3GPP standards, which are all waiting for release 17, as I'm sure you're aware, in the next week or so. Well, people very often ask me what is 5G, and I say it's a broad church of different technologies, but very much in this case, we're talking about 5G designed for business. We're talking about private 5G networks on site that deliver availability to the 5 nines, capacity 1 million devices per square kilometre, ultra low latency, the ambition there for 1 millisecond latency. At the minute, our network's been performing the sub 20 milliseconds and down towards about 10 milliseconds, depending on what applications we've been working with. But that's been enough for the vast majority of use cases. We've really pushed it with some laser cutting devices, which we were trying to run a start-stop command. But we found with that we couldn't get below the 10 milliseconds that was really needed to stop it in time. I'm sure that will come in time with different things in play. Again, 5G networks promise extra efficiency, network slicing, which again I think is it's got a huge part to play in Industry 4.0 and public networks and offering private solutions off public networks potentially. But I also think it's a real game changer in the health and social care field, or will be a real game changer in the health and social care field, where it's going to be in my opinion, very difficult to build some of those let's say, the business case for a 5G network for that sole purpose. I think it's going to have to be on a shared type network environment, whether that be public or a shared private network for people. But I do find that at the minute, I wouldn't be wanting to run some of those solutions without having that network slicing all the way through the network. And again, the agility that the 5G networks can offer, it's great. The public 5G networks are fantastic, but again, they're all configured around the download at far higher speed over the upload. In some of these private solutions we're seeing in industry, there is absolutely a demand for synchronizing that uplink at the same with downlink. And in some cases, you might even want uplink above your downlink. It just comes to what settings you require and for what application, which kind of brings us neatly on to some of those 5G, how 5G is enabling Industry 4.0 use cases. And I think we've really looked at what we see and what's possible here. And for me, in that short term, the asset tracking and geofencing, we're working on a solution in AE Aerospace that's looking at gauges and measures and where people have put a gauge, and whether that gets down to the 10 centimeter type level, and if that gets dropped on the floor, you might need to reconfigure it. If it's getting used all the time, it's great to work it. But also things like your fixtures for your machine tools that come in a tray, they get left all over the factory. People never know where to find them. So just a case of asset tracking. And again, that can be done by other technologies. But what we've found with the 5G technology in a factory, you can still do the asset tracking and the backhauling of that, whilst at the same time looking at your video for quality in the other corner, and also running a few other machine to machine type services, augmented reality and virtual reality solutions. So I'm coming into the medium term now. I know when we set off working on this with Yamazaki Mazak back in 2018, we were looking at where we got with augmented reality instructions for an engineer, and it actually got quite complicated. And we also found there was at that stage a shortage of kind of quality graphics products that were bringing out the devices at the level that an engineer would need them on. There was lots of cartoons, lots of fancy types of augmented reality solutions, but they weren't really at the level that you would hope to see from an engineer's perspective. We ended up doing there a video remote control assist, whereby you got instructions on your screen with diagrams. Again, that was really important for Yamazaki Mazak, because not only could that save them time and efficiency on sending engineers out to sites, but they also recognized it as a perfect training opportunity for people. And again, whilst Yamazaki Mazak have done that in a factory setting, again, that's been looked at, and we've looked at solutions there with ambulances, with healthcare, and in other fields as well. It's really fantastic for training individuals as a solution, as well as in life matters too. We looking there again at machine-to-machine collaboration, and in the longer term, again, I have seen applications whereby you've got the haptic suits and haptic feedback, so somebody just knows what something should feel like, or can guide somebody's hand to instruct the movement, something that needs to happen. That again is all possible. I think at the minute it's probably a price point matter that you need to look at to see whether something's going to be viable or not in a production manufacturing setting at large scale. But on high cost items, small runs, it really might be something. Or if that expertise is so particular, people being able to work away and offer that steer and get involved and actually feel them on site and see what it looks like. I think that we've looked again here, and I'm not going to read through this slide. You can see for yourselves here. But again, focus around asset tracking, maintenance and remote maintenance. Bosch as an example, if we can replace the scheduled maintenance with predictive maintenance, that can save several weekends over a year. And at the same time, you only replace things when you absolutely need to. The quality assurance piece, there's a great example I'm going to talk to in a second that we've seen at AE Aerospace with another provider. And again, I think this is all driving to improvements in productivity and systems operations and the like. So the case studies then. Worcester Bosch, I've talked somewhat about condition monitoring. What you can see on your screen there is an XDK sensor, one of the early ones that we had. This is all you can see it's wired in. This is all becoming remote as we've gone along. This was very early doors, and as we're on a Tommy Flowers network, I feel almost say Heath Robinson in some cases, the solution in places. But what we recognize here is condition monitoring you could do over 4G, and you could certainly do it over other networks as well. It was just when we built this up alongside other use cases, we started to see where 5G came into its own. So here you've got some automated guided vehicles. That pallet truck can hold about, I was told about 300 ton, which sounds too much for me, so I need to check that one. But in terms of what it can do is it can certainly ship and move around a large number of boilers on that pallet truck there. That was working okay on 4G when there was one pallet truck. When you got multiple pallet trucks in there, the 4G and the Wi-Fi stack were falling over as solutions, and only when we put it on the 5G network could we have a fleet management piece. We didn't see the vehicles stopping and getting stuck in the way there, which really proved the 5G point for us. I'm sure other people may have got them to work over 4G, but as I say, we were really stretching the network at that time. Other solutions, storage, packing, direction. I think the point here is once you start to introduce a network, people can see all sorts of other areas of possibility, particularly if you talk to those change managers who are focused on the process. And those individuals can see what needs to happen. And if they can understand the benefits of 5G, which we talked about previously, they can really start to think if they can bring other, tightening of control limits or process improvement solutions in there. I think that's where things get really exciting. Yamazaki Mazak, I talked to this a little bit earlier with the remote expert with augmented reality. What Mazak found, they've got some very expensive pieces of machine. They provide machines into other factories, CNC machines, etc. If Mazak has a problem with their kit, they may have a fly across to Portugal to look at the machine. Very often they find that machine was then maybe the issue on it may have been misdiagnosed. They then fly back. The engineer comes back and says it wasn't that issue, it's something else. So we need to send somebody else out there. The next person goes out if they can fix it or they can't fix it. Again, there's cost associated with that. There's time associated with that. But with a remote expert AR type solution, with the engineer that doesn't need to go and visit, that the engineer, either the company can maybe resolve the issue themselves, or second, you can send a junior engineer out there. They can look at the problem. If it's a particular machine that they've not seen before or a particular set of configurations, they can contact a more senior engineer back at base who can talk them through the problem and talk them through the solution, saving on the remote visit and also improving customer satisfaction, because we do largely focus on productivity benefits and systems and processes, but very often, again, it's about the experience of the customer. You only get one or two chances to prove yourself, and for us, this was an important point. And again, what we also saw with the training, there's efficiencies, there's savings that can be seen there, and also gives that engineer the confidence on the visit to try new things and try new skills. And as we say, once you start to build into that and go a little bit further, almost with a haptic suit, where you could say, yeah, that feels like the right pressure. But you could see where that use case could ultimately move to and bring further benefits and opportunity. Moving on to the next one, this is AE Aerospace in Birmingham. So this is our this is the SME. They deal with a lot of civil and also military applications. Walking around their factory, and it's probably appropriate to say back at Bosch, these devices don't all have 5G built into them. In some cases, you're working with 20 or 30-year-old machines that you are strapping sensors on to monitor them and to work with them. But what I found really interesting at AE Aerospace was just how in the short space of time of talking about some very simple case studies with them, it just grew, and the excitement of the operations director of what just the art of the possible and what might come next. So again, I've talked to you about those mobile asset tracking, whether that be trays of parts or a gauge. We've talked a little bit about the kind of servitization on machines, but I think here the interesting one was some of the product quality assurance with some 360-degree high quality video analysis of parts, which again brings more standardization. It can do it quicker than the human can, and it's also it doesn't matter what mood particularly the operator may or may not be in on that given day, whether they're going to let something slide because it's a Friday afternoon, or whether or not they've had a bit of a miserable weekend and they're taking it out on the quality on a Monday. It's an evolving process. It brings that standardization, and I think again the 4K element of the video is what was making this 5G, and again multiple applications of it. It's the network standing up overall. Moving into the Manufacturing Technology Centre at Coventry, or the MTC. we're building a demonstrator here. This is going to be a first of type Nokia-based SA solution in the MTC that's currently just being finalised as we speak, ready for the demonstrator to be built over the summer. And again, bringing people through that factory to look at what the potential may or may not be. Is I'm sure there's somebody on talking about the MTC's work a little bit later, so I don't want to step on their toes too much here. But I think, again, for me, this is going to be about the art of the possible. This is what 5G can do, and individuals in factories, in businesses, know their systems and operations better than anybody else. Sometimes they just need somebody to look at them alongside them to realise, even recognise there is a problem. So sometimes problems are just accepted. It's a given that you might waste 20% time on a machine because that's how it's always been. What we're saying now is, really, does that have to be true? Could it not be a problem that you can resolve and work at? Or again, people genuinely do have problems, as I talked about with Bosch and the AGVs working over Wi-Fi. If you can resolve those issues, you know there's a problem. You can maximise that. You've made the investment in the AGVs. Now you need the network to be able to support that in the best way possible. So coming back to what is nexGworx and what is Worcestershire 5G, we've had a lot of learnings with a large number of partners. We're offering Testbed as a service, so we're looking to work with businesses of all sizes. At Malvern Hills Science Park, we've got an indoor and outdoor radio equipment, so we've got the lab facility that people can come and trial on and play with. There's varying scales of that, whether it's come up and turn up with your own devices, whether you need access to devices, whether you need professional support around understanding how those devices could work, or integrating it with our network. We've got a multi-access edge compute facility, again, bringing those latency options right down and allowing people to trial and test in that environment without having to invest in a network in the first place. We've also got other sites, whilst the Worcester Bosch, AE Aerospace and MTC, well, MTC is, but the others necessarily might not be open. But as businesses, they're always looking for solutions. So if you are a solutions provider and looking into that space, it might be that after a conversation, if it was in their interest and in your interest, we can bring two parties together to come and look at a solution in those spaces as well. We've got a lot of support and integration with BT and EE mobile labs on these projects, which is very much welcomed. When we started, we were working with the systems integrators. BT were a partner, but weren't as actively involved in the network management. Now they're more so involved in that. It's a business model they're looking to, and we're working with them well on those things. We've got access to test devices. We've got new models of services, and if people want to look at software applications or devices just using the end of the 5G and playing with let's say a modern handset, it could go really down to that level. That is the most simple way you can engage with us. I guess the most complicated way would be to commission a new network, a new test network built out to your factory. So just to be clear, we're not in the game here of moving these solutions into a live business service managed environment. That's not what nexGworx does. What nexGworx does is build a test bed for you to play and trial on and see how that works for you, and then you can get handed off to whatever partner you may choose to pick those services up with in the long run. You'll see a couple of pictures across the bottom of the screen there, moving their way up. It's not an indication of 5G signal, but it may be. Maybe it's good design. You've got an image there of our 5G skills. So I think some of the important things that we've done, we've got the reports on our website now from our 5G skills report. It's largely focused on engineering solutions, but we also do pick up on some of the points that exist within industry, and whether it's business leaders or whether it's the change managers that you're looking to, or in many cases the operatives who really do have a hands-on experience of what needs to happen in that space. You'll see the second image is an outdoor setup that we brought indoors and attenuated the power down so it would operate. This was again very early days. I think that was pictures from 2017 when we set that one up. But the important piece here is recognizing that it is still R&D in many cases. Everybody doesn't need to be there. You're not too slow if you're only just picking up 5G now, or you've started to think about some of the technologies. You're still an early adopter at this stage in the 5G world, and probably you're going to get the advantage of some of those early R&D projects where those hard lessons have already been learned and shared across the ecosystem so far. The third image is our outdoor mast at Malvern, which, you know, it's a beautiful place to live and work. But the important thing about that is obviously it allows people to come and trial and use those solutions in the real world whilst being on site to play with the network. That works really well for them. And then just finally, before I sign off, because I realise I've whistle stop tour there, how to reach us and find out more. Inquiries at nexGworx is our email. The www.nexGworx is our new site that we've just launched. If anybody's interested in any particular case studies, they're on there. The reports from the Worcestershire 5G phase of the testbed are on there. You can find those. You can have a look at some of our service descriptions. And find out where we've been, what we're up to today, and how potentially you can join us and come on that journey with us, with nexGworx, to understand how 5G can benefit your business. And just finally, it is probably worth us saying that, you know, other technology and other networks are available. 5G isn't a one-size-fits-all. I've said the network can be adapted. It can work to different applications. It can work. It's a really good all-rounder as a network. Effectively, it can cover in those spaces, but it also has the ability, with the evolving standards as they're coming through, to really focus down and specialize as well. That said, with Wi-Fi 6, Wi-Fi 6E, we did some early work again with the WBA and Metis Aerospace in Redditch, where we pointed them in the direction, and they worked together to build 18 months, 2 years ago, the first Wi-Fi 6 network in a factory in the world. So again, that was another first of type. Some fantastic lessons learned there, where Wi-Fi had previously failed. I know they found Wi-Fi 6 was helpful and was in the right environment for them. Not spoken to them to a while, so I'll put that down as a note to go and speak to them in the next couple of weeks to see how things are still progressing with that. But with narrowband IoT, 5G NB-IoT, LTE-M, and some of those other solutions, they might be the right thing in a factory setting. And again, we've got experience. We can talk to you about these things, or those complementary technologies like the edge compute, or the if it doesn't work to have a core on site, if you're really looking at some of those web-based applications or sort of like containerized cores out there in the cloud, then we can talk to you about those as well, and discuss what the benefits and pros and cons may or may not be for you. So thank you for joining me. I hope you found that useful, and please get in touch.